and welcome. And today we are talking about you can't plant turnips and expect roses, right? And so this is a conceptual analogy that we use in our philosophy quite often about what you're planting, or I like to say giving your attention to, is what grows. And often we think about our conscious attention. Someone might say, well, Tracey, I don't give my attention to that. But as we grow and mature, there are a lot of things that just go down. If you've ever taken a class under that iceberg and they're kind of running the show, and sometimes we don't know. So when we look at our life and we have something that we don't particularly care for, we then begin to explore the unconscious beliefs, and there are ways to bring them up in a way that we can look at them without self-judgment or self-blame. But first, I do have a couple Easter little jokes for you. So let's have a good laugh first. So, what do you call an unconventional Easter egg? Potato. I like that. Egg-centric. I've been told I'm a little egg-centric from time to time. Why did the egg fail his driving test? He cracks under pressure. And why doesn't anyone want to be an Easter egg? Because they don't want to be dying. They don't want to be dying. Silly, I know. Okay, we'll just let those go. All right, moving on. So again, today we're talking about how we plant in the mind, and what we plant in our mind, we harvest in our life. So today we're not just remembering the story about Easter. We're participating in the principle of what the story is actually about. And now many religions and philosophies use the word resurrection, and I did really dig into the Science of Mind textbook, and Ernest Holmes used it as well, but in a little bit of a different way. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So resurrection in the form or the way Ernest Holmes was teaching it is a universal truth, one that's in each side of us. Not just a moment in history, but a power and a pattern and a way of rising up to our higher consciousness. So when we talk about awakening, to me is the same as the word resurrection. And so it is something that it's not a one-time occurrence. It's every time we shed an old belief, we pull up something by the root and we see it, and we know because we have a visceral reaction to when we see a unconscious belief or someone helps us to see what's running the show, and it's usually like, oh my God, that was it? Like that's been the little spur in my shoe? Or we cry or we laugh hysterically because we sometimes just don't know what's running the show. So what we teach here is how to become familiar with what's running your show so that you plant the seeds to get roses and not turnips. Although you might like turnips, so some of you might say, I particularly don't. So, that's what came to mind when we were talking about that title. But Ernest Holmes in the Easter of celebration and resurrection is rising again and again to higher consciousness. The transformation from limitation to liberation. I read this morning from an author, and I please forgive me because I cannot remember the name, but one of the things she said was so much now is being fed to us through social media, the news. Information is coming to us in ways now more than ever before, and it's so easy to get distracted and carried away and leave the truth of our being into the to the world. And it's easy now to get depressed or to be afraid or to really just get lost in this mounting information. And so what we're really talking about today is how to come back home to ourselves and how to abide in the self, which is this idea of Easter is coming home to the self and abiding there and letting the world do what the world does. And we begin to see that there are ways that we can actively participate in the world and to do what we feel we're called to do. And not everybody feels called to do the same thing in our worldly life. But at the end of the day, it does take a lot of energy, a lot of time, and we need to come home to ourselves and to rest and abide in the peaceful presence, because it recharges us, it renews us, it expands us. Ernest Holmes teaches that the resurrection is not just about Jesus, it's about the resurrection of spirit within us. So our metaphor today is, of course, you can't get roses if you plant turnips. It's kind of a lighthearted look at the subject, but it is pointing to a deeply sacred truth that we hold within our philosophy, and that life reflects what we plant in consciousness. That's a big one, right? And so what I started to think about is, how do we look at this without self-judgment or self-blame, and without fully saying, oh, I must have attracted that, and because sometimes that gets us in the water of victimization. But how can we just really start to see what our conditioning is and how it's conceptualized in our life? And if we lean towards sadness or depression, which in my opinion means that there's a desire that is unmet, because I have found that most human beings want to be happy always. And if we have strayed from that, then there is some untruth running in your operating system that pulls you away from that eternal truth that you are already happy. So just as Easter symbolizes the rolling away of the stone, today we are talking about how to roll away old habits, stories, and unconscious seeds that have blocked the light. So often when we stop and we look at our lives and we see the things that we want to change or we want to grow from, or we want to let go of, and sometimes those are really difficult to do because they are our natural response to something that our brain feels is a threat to us. And it's different for everyone because we've all been raised differently. Holmes says that the mind is a garden in which he is planting seeds every day. So every day we watch TV, we watch a movie, we read a book, and we are gathering concepts. And this idea came to me that we are like a caged bird, and we don't know the door is open. And one day we realize there's no cage, there's no bird, and there's freedom. And then silence, which is our natural beingness, is set free. And so often we're trying to sit and be still. We're trying to sit and hear the silence. We're trying to sit, and we're using our beingness and our mind and our worldly surroundings to try to get quiet, when quiet is our natural state. It is the essence of who we are, and it is always there. It was never born. It will never die. It is who you are. This impermanent nature is often what we might consider the caged bird. And stillness is a natural essence of who we are. And I started to think of it as, oh, what if it is kind of like held captive by all the things that distract us, all the things that go floating by and we give our attention to, and that it just takes one realization, one moment of realization, to see the naturalness of the natural beingness of who we are, and to allow the joy of our higher truth to arise within us and show us that all the things that we are giving our time and attention to changing are just things that are going to fall away and move on at any time. So with every thought that we repeat, every fear that we rehearse, every judgment that we hold on to, we are often giving what Ernest Holmes calls thinking, right? Change your thinking, change your life. And I started to realize that when we give attention to thought, it's the thinking that he's talking about, that there's all these thoughts floating around, and one of them, for some reason, we connect to, and we give all of our attention, and then we feel it in our body, and then our body gets tense. And then as we start to experience that, we don't really stop in the midst of this experience to go, oh, I might be creating something here. So that's what we're talking about today, is that something will sprout up, right? One day something sprouts up, and we have that feeling, a circumstance, and we say, oh, how did I attract that? Maybe somebody said something unkind, or, we forgot a bill was due, or our car broke down. And this is one thing in our philosophy that I found that I often said to myself every time something was going wrong is, how did I attract this? And I was corrected to say, well, our energy does resonate with certain circumstances, and when we resonate with that energy, then we see what's at that level. But when we raise our energy, we see something else. And we often find that, that thing, it wasn't even in our awareness. It didn't even draw our attention, because now we have raised our energy, our elevation, our conscious thought. And so we are moving from one plane of existence to another, and always expanding and expanding forevermore. So I wanted to really encourage us to get out of that idea of how did I attract this, because the question is often disguised for self-blame and victimization. Instead of asking from guilt, we ask from awareness. We could say something like, I didn't order this. Maybe something within me that I haven't seen clearly yet about myself is producing a byproduct that I no longer find useful. And I need Spirit's help to reveal it, because sometimes I just can't see how it came to be. So I ask Spirit, show me, what may I release as to not blame myself, and to raise my vibration, and to step into a new way of being that brings or shows me the happiness of my true nature that I already am. And that we move from looking at the negative circumstance as a turnip, and we see that that all circumstances are teachers. And that we start to let go of the idea that a turnip is negative, and we just clear out the dirt and the remnants of the roots and the seeds, and we plant a new idea. And what we get is the rose, and the rose is just such a high frequency vibration, and we relate it to beauty and gentleness. And we have some roses in our backyard, and the kids were running around, and one of them, big purple rose, and Luke went to smell it, and he was like, oh, that smells so beautiful, out of a 3-year-old. And then Essie came, and, well, her reaction was different. She was like, oh, flower, she's like, squeezes it. And Luke's like, no. But, it reminded me that everything is so impermanent, that the leaves of the rose fall off, and then we look to see what we're continually planting, because of all the moments of our lives, things are going on, things are happening, things are arising, and we really, really want to be able to set the silence free so that we are abiding in the stillness while the world is going on. And it allows us to look at our reaction more closely, to ask, from whence did this came? Why do I react this way? What needs to take its place? And it can be very challenging. We talk about it like it's easy, but it's not. Our compulsions or reactions to meet things that we dislike are very ingrained in us. And if you've ever tried to stop them, it's like a locomotive. It just, and then we get mad at ourselves thinking we should know better, right? That's the other one that we get caught in, is I should know better. I'm a science of mind, or I read the book. I took the classes. Why won't this stop? Well, because we haven't pulled it up by the root. There's still a payoff in it for us. And once we figure out what the payoff is, then we can start to look deeper at the idea and where it comes from. And if you want to take an express road, spend some time with your parents if they're still around. You will see where you came from, how you were made, what your idea was. I've been spending a lot of time with my parents, and I'm watching my dad interact with my mom, and I'm like, that's where I got it from. I see. And my mom's like, he only acts that way when he has an audience. And I was like, interesting. And, I'm watching these two and just observing it. And I was like, oh, this was my childhood. And you can't help to see how you've turned out, right? And you start to release fault. Because the great news about fault is, if we don't look at it in a shame-based way, that if something's our fault, the good news is we can change it. the good news is that we get to go, oh, if this is happening, I can choose something new. I can plant a new seed. The desire has to be there. The willingness has to be there. And if you haven't quite gotten there, you just need to take some time to evaluate your life. And if you have a great life and you love it, guess what? You can have so much more, so many more roses. So some of the real problems that we encounter is it's just not the turnip that shows up, it's that we let them move in. We give them space, we feed them, and we repeat. And then we say, well, this is just how life is. I just got turnips. But it isn't just how life is. We say things like, oh, this is happening to me, or we start to externalize and we look to external validation or disapproval to validate how we're feeling about ourselves. And we might feel unlovable, stuck, or unworthy. These could be the turnips that we're facing. And so when someone comes and says something to us about us, we look at that as a like a seemingly real thing to validate who we are, when it's really just a mirror saying, hey, I might want to look at that. If we can get past the judgment of the other person, that brings it to us. And that is a very difficult thing sometimes. But they're all gifts. Ernest Holmes says that we should never deny that which we wish to affirm. We must learn to affirm the divine presence in everything and everyone. We're not denying the reality of our lives and these difficult things that happen. And we simplify to the analogy of planting a seed. But really, if we start to look or journal or really become aware of the ideas and the thoughts that we attach our attention to, we start to see that we can say, no, not today. That's not I don't wish to go that way. I'm planting a new seed today. Right? Or if our spouse is driving us crazy, and I don't know about you, but I can react. I watched my dad do it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go home and tell Bill I'm sorry. I could see, and I often joke about Bill, and he's, a wonderful partner and spouse, and we like to play and laugh, but sometimes, like most marriages, you can react, and I find myself not hearing what he is saying. I hear what I think he said, which really makes me mad, and then rah comes the tiger, and then I'll go, what I heard you say was, and he's like, I didn't say that at all. I'm like, yes, you did. That is what you said. And I will stand on it like it's my castle, and then I'll go, did I say, oh, maybe not, right? And we often do this when we are not listening, or we're grounding ourselves, our habits become us, and we can't take a step back. And I saw this little girl on Instagram today, and her mom said, if two people disagree, what's your suggestion? She's 5, and she said, well, you can be right, or you can be loved and get along. Right? The little girl says. And I often find that we want to be right over getting along. That being right substantiates or validates our existence, our personalities, and we don't want anybody to run over us or to think that they can get away with anything. And, we all visit these things, and we all have this as a part of us because it is part of our human nature. Some of us have done more work on it, so it is not as bothersome, but we all have triggers because we're people. And so when we go seeking that external validation, we start to become the finest turnip farmers there are, right? And we start to want to dig them up. We start to want to take classes and meet with practitioners or find a teacher, and we become ferocious readers. Once we decide that we want freedom over being right, once we find that we really want to understand liberation and the true message of the sages and the teachers, we start to give ourselves to look at things that we haven't looked at before. Ernest Holmes, he says that we start to gravitate toward the higher truths and to really start to want to understand them and how to allow those to work in our lives as opposed to the old conditioning. So we start to clean the mirror. We talk about the world a little bit, right? That the world is not the truth. It's a mirror unto us. And the mirror isn't always clean. It reflects back our current thoughts, not our eternal being. Holmes says, man is the mirror through which the infinite projects its image. If we don't like what we see, we don't need to change the mirror. We just need to clean it. A little Windex, a little spiritual Windex, and cleaning it off so we can see the glorious nature of ourselves reflecting back to us. The role of treatment and prayer and pausing are principal practices that we can use as we start to want to grow and change and find our footing and to learn more. And it's not always about being agitated or wanting to be a better person. Sometimes we just want a general understanding or a broader understanding of the principles of truth and liberation and freedom and how to just genuinely be in the days of our lives that where calmness and happiness abides. So the role of treatment and practices really help us to start look at that. It's how we stop telling the world who we are and start asking Spirit, show me who I'm becoming. So planting roses through faith. Treatment is not wishful thinking. It's not begging. It's not planting. Oh, treatment is when we uproot, right? We want to uproot what doesn't serve, and we want to replace it with something alive, something beautiful, something divine. And we want to speak it. We want to water it. We want to affirm it till it grows, just like we can affirm the negative thoughts that we have about ourselves, and we all have them. You know, we say in our philosophy, we are so much more unkind to ourselves than we are with other people. You know, Luke was at daycare, and one of his little friends got hit or something, and Luke decided, well, he was going to take care of that problem and went and bit the other kid that hit his friend. And so I was like, oh, this is so interesting. You know, we often go to the defense of others before we even come to the defense of ourselves. Before we even change our mind about ourselves, we are out looking for ways to defend others and not even allowing them to take responsibility for their lives. And, you know, so we must really, when we hear that voice, like, bad Tracey, oh no, good Tracey. Good Tracey, try again. If this is what we are talking about here today, that is the planting of the new seed, is a new idea about yourself. A new idea planted in the root or in the filament of the soil of soul, so that it gives birth to a new expression and a new way of being. And you just must merely be vigilant and be the manager of your little room, right? So if you're in a room and you're in your awareness as manager and you hear the thought, you open the door and it's, why did you do that? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Nope, we're shutting the door. That's not our idea. We are shutting the door on that idea, and we are finding a new one. And you know, I often find it is so darn difficult to think of a new, better idea of yourself than thinking a negative one. How come it is so easy for us to go, bad Tracey, or oh, I'm so embarrassed, or God, I did it again, or oh my God, I have to face them when I go back, than to be kind and gentle like we are to children. We must cultivate our minds in a new direction. We want to uproot that. We want to be aware of where our thinking is pulling us. So we must speak the love. We must water it and affirm it. By the way, my strawberry plant is big and green and growing. And this is the same concept, right? Ernest Holmes says that faith is a mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea that any contradiction is unthinkable. That is the life that I want us to start living. That our faith in who we are and the truth of our being, even if we haven't had a glimpse of it, cannot be the first idea we have of ourselves. That we get to shut that door and say no, and even if I can't think of something good about myself right now, it doesn't matter. You could just say, I can't think of something good right now, but I know it's there, and Spirit is gonna hold it for me. And you can phone a friend and they'll tell you something good. Right? But often we phone them and tell them the story, waiting for them to tell us how crappy, wow, that was pretty crappy. What'd you do that for? And we need to phone a friend that goes, it's okay. We're all human. We make mistakes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Spirit's got it. Spirit is going to water it until a new expression of you shows up. Faith is that mental attitude. It is resurrection in real time within our inner body. So this week, I did some journal sheets for you, and they are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that you can spend some time looking and becoming aware of the thoughts that you have about yourself. And there's some beautiful questions there. And I really want you to dig in and check that out and see if it will change the way you water yourself. Better done in the morning to set your pace for the whole day, but hey, life is good. Do it however you want. That's the freedom we have here. So we want to make sure that it's not becoming a concept to memorize, but it's a path to walk. So each day you'll notice what's growing. Asking Spirit to reveal and release. You get to plant something new. You get to affirm it. And you get to act on it in the faith in which it's true until it becomes true in your reality. And each day you'll speak these words before your activity. I wish to understand the highest meaning of the teaching, to expand my consciousness and see that which does not serve my path of awakening. Because the truth is, awakening or resurrection is not a memory, it's a movement of consciousness, of love for yourself, of faith in spirit to make it so. So say this with me in closing affirmation today. I release the old seeds with love. I plant new ones in and with spirit. I trust the law to bring forth the bloom. And I rise in faith. And today I know this truth. And so it is. And Jackson, will you play a little while we ground that in prayer? I firmly plant myself and rooted in the idea that goodness is all there is, and that any reflection of negativity is just the chatter of the mind and an old story. Something someone told us once that we believe to be true because we heard it enough. But today we get to plant a new seed, and we get to send ourselves new messages, and we get to see that the soil, the seed, the bloom, the plant is all one. That in it has its DNA to bring forth by law exactly what is planted. So when we plant love, we get and receive love. When we plant harmony, we get and receive harmony. When we know these gracious qualities of God as our true and delightful being, that we sit in that fulfillment, that presence, that permanent feeling of bliss, allowing the world to go by. And when we open our eyes and we are drawn to here or there, we simply say, I sit in the presence and awareness of who I am. There is no need to move, do, or be. All is revealed through spirit and time. And we become magnetic beings, walking and generating this healthy, beautiful energy, and we attract unto it the desired outcome. And this is happening now. This is planted in consciousness. This is our delightful and rightful truth. For it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom of heaven. And I know this for me, and I know it for you, and any obstacle that you are encountering in your life, it's just merely a change of mind about it. Changes what is seen about it, what is heard about it, what is known about it. That you, through your own consciousness, gets to reveal that which is greater and greater. And this is the most holiest thing that we have as human beings, is to create our own reality. And why not start today? Why not plant that seed today? I release these words into the law, knowing that cannot be returned void, for the law works and acts on every idea that we give attention to. Knowing that all of attention is given to the greater new idea, it is revealed, it is healed, it is let go, and the rose and the bloom takes its place, and so it is.
wash over us. We let it be.
That is a beautiful song. It always gets me right here, right here. I just love the idea of grace washing over, and it's kind of like standing under a waterfall, and you just let it fall, and it just washes you clean. It is that time in our service where the ushers will come around and collect anything that you have to share with our community. And we're always deeply appreciative of the ways that everyone gives. And, we're just deeply thankful, deeply grateful that we are here, grounded, and moving forward in spirit. Thank you.
Let's say this together. Divine love.
Thank you.
In and through me blesses and multiplies
all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jackson.
Started on a dirty road. Started out all alone. The sun went down break your heart, steal your crown. So started out for God knows where. Guess I'll know when I get there. Learning to fly, learning to fly. I ain't got wings. Coming down, learning to fly. It's the hardest thing. Learning to fly, but around the clouds. What goes up, learning to fly, it must come down.
All right, I'm coming down to you. Come on up. Thank you so much for your service today. This is my son, Will. He came, snuck in. I opened my eyes and he was there. Yay! It's always a nice surprise to see your kiddos, right? Although he's an adult. Oh. Just blessing the gifts of spirit, and in any form, in any way, the movement or the action or the delight of spirit to support itself. For we are that, so it always is in support. So when we give to ourselves. We give in many ways, time, talents, treasures, and we are so deeply grateful for that effort, that action, that movement that says, I believe in the divine givingness of grace, and that all that goes out must come back and fulfill the desires of the many and the few. Because of this movement and faith, because we ground ourselves in spiritual principles, that we walk in expectation. And that is a holy walk, one without worry or fear. And on this Easter, we are just so delighted at planting new seeds in new ways and new ideas. And I release any beauty, any love, any thoughts of abundance and grace and prosperity into the universe, knowing that they will always return to itself. That plus so much more. With the deepest of gratitude for your givingness, I say, and so it is. Thank you. And Miss Kathleen is not with us today, so I will do the new visitors. Do we have any new visitors today? Please stand and tell us your names. We'd love to hear from you. Hi. Welcome. Thank you for coming in today. And I'm sorry, say it again? Armighty, thank you. And we're so grateful that you chose here to be with us on Easter Sunday. We hope that it was a great experience for you. And we're knowing that it was a great experience for you. I'm knowing that. And we do have a used book shelf out here. And so for our folks that come and visit us, we do ask for you to please go peruse and pick a book that calls to you, or that if you'd like to do some reading or just fill yourself with beautiful new insights, that is open to you, and we are deeply grateful for your presence with us today. Thank you. All right. And I am filling in, so I'm reading because, I'm doing a new job, so bear with me. The announcements, again, you'll see them. We're all here. We all have ideas about what's going on. If you're curious, just phone a friend or watch the TV or look at our website. Clay does a good job of making sure things are up to date there. And, here we go. Are we... I'm lost in the shaking.
Quickest announcements ever.
There we go. And I'm not usually quick at anything, so please stand and let's read our affirmation.
Let's say this affirmation, and then we will sing out with the peace song, as is our wont.
There you go. See, Jackson always is saving me. I love it.
You ready? Grab a hand if you want, or if you feel comfortable with that.
I'm going to come down here on this
kind of part
beautiful
of our
Easter
thing
Sunday
here.
and do that.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is happening through my mind, my body, and my affairs. I think it, I believe it, I feel it, I know it, I accept it. Thank you, life.
Yes, there is peace on earth,
And yes, it begins with me.
yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. God as creator, we're a family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and love each moment with peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
Hello, how are you, Princess? Understood. If you'd like prayer, please remember to stay seated. I'll ring the bell 4 times.